Hello, in this video, we're going to be going over how to set up Aurox signals in order to trade from Aurox directly to your exchange using 3Commas. The one thing that you have to know is we don't personally use 3Commas. It's a completely separate entity. I've never personally used it. So this video is specifically designed to help you set up that transition from signals to 3Commas and then execute those orders on the exchange itself. I don't use 3Commas. I can't tell you exactly how to set up the 3Commas bot itself, but I can show you how to send those signals to 3Commas. It's fairly simple. So let's just get started. So we go to 3Commas. We have our bot set up. You can actually create a new one. I already have one kind of set up with the following settings, and you can let me edit it. So we have a regular bot set up for Bittrex. I have my Bittrex account connected. It's a simple bot. I'm not doing a composite one, but we'll discuss that in a bit. And then we just have it set to BTC USDT. The rest of the settings, everything else, you kind of have to understand what 3Commas is. And you kind of have to read through their discussion and guides in order to figure out how that works. Again, I can't help you with that because I'm not kind of the right person for that. I can just show you how the signals are going to be sent over to 3Commas. And the one thing that you have to select in these settings is this right here. Your deal start condition has to be set to TradingView custom signal. If you click that, make sure that's set up. None of these other ones, we don't deal with that. This TradingView custom signal. And then you'll just set up all your other settings and click save. And we have our bot saved. Now, when you go back to the bot itself, that's in your DCA bot, and if you click on this view button right here, you'll see that you have all your bot information. In this area, if you scroll down, you'll see message for deal start signal, and you click on that, it will display this JSON data. This is the information that we want, and this is the information that's going to be sent from Aurox to Integromat, from Integromat to 3Commas, and then eventually to your exchange. So let's go to the simple bot setting, and this is kind of the bot that we have, or this is the webhooks we have set up, and I'm actually going to set this up from the start. But let's review exactly what's going on here. We have the webhooks that's receiving the signal. Then we have a router that will send the buy signal and then the sell signal depending on what the signal is, whether it's long or short. It's very simple. And so let me show you exactly how that's done by setting it up all over again. So we'll click create new scenario, type in webhooks, click continue, select webhooks right here. And then you want to select custom webhook, not the mail webhook, the custom webhook. You click on that. Mine already has these settings, but we'll create a new one. You click the add button. Let's name it 3Commas bot. Click save, and you'll have this URL. This is the URL that we're going to send our signals to, and we'll copy that address. We'll go to Aurox. And on the scanner, on the alerts, we'll actually go down to this URL right here, paste that URL in there, and then go back to our Integromat, and you can see it's listening for new events, and that's what we want. We want it listening for new events in order to determine the structure of the webhook and the JSON data that is being sent. So we'll click test webhook, and it's been successfully sent. And you can see it was successfully received as well. So we'll click out of that. And the next thing we want to do is click this plus button on the webhook and select a router. So if you type in router, it's actually flow control. It's the same thing. We'll click flow control, and then we select the router. Now, what the router does again is it will determine whether the signal is long or short, and based on that, send different signals. Because if we go to 3Commas over here, there's one type of request for opening a deal or an order, and then the other one, there's other type of signals that you can send. This is like closing at market price. This is closing all deals at market price, and there's a bunch of different ones. But we're gonna be mainly looking at the deal start and then close order. So because it requires different signals for different items, that's why we need to make sure that we're using that router to split those signals into two. Otherwise, you're going to have a signal for long and then a signal for short coming through at the same time, and it's going to completely mess up your orders. So have that router set up, and then we'll click this button right here, set up a filter, and we'll name this long, for example. And then here is the condition. This is what this split will listen to. In this scenario, we're going to be looking at the signal update. The signal update is what has the long or short text inside of it. So we'll click signal update, and it equals long. We'll click save, and you can see it split that part. Now we have to set up the short side. Click short, signal update, and then it equals short. So now we've got the split set up. Now we actually have to set up the HTTP request that's going to be sent to 3Commas. And we click this question mark, type in HTTP, make a request. And in here, in the URL, we're going to type in the URL. It's actually in their documentation. I don't know why it's not in their portal, but it's here somewhere. Oh, there it is. This is the URL for this signal. I'll send this documentation. It'll be in the description of the video, but this is the URL that we want to use. And let's go back here. We paste the URL into here. For the method, we're going to use post. Headers, we're going to leave the same. Query string, we're going to leave the same. And then in the body type, it will be raw. And then content type, you'll select JSON. And here in this request content is actually where you're going to paste one of these bodies. For the long, for the market order or the deal start signal, it's going to be this request right here. We'll copy that directly into the request content and click OK. So now we have the long setup. Now we have to set up the short, and we do the exact same thing. Make request. URL is going to come from their documentation. Post, raw, JSON, and then the data itself is going to be close order at market price. We'll copy that directly into here. And we've got it set up. That's literally it. This is how you set up a simple bot, and we'll actually test it here to make sure that it's actually working. So we go over Bittrex. I have no open orders, no closed orders, order book. So it's completely empty, and let's actually run it and see if it works. So I have this, I want to make sure that this is the correct one. Yep, that's the correct one. So let's just run it once. And I'm actually going to send a fake signal through just to kind of test it. But obviously, that's not going to be the case when you're running it yourself. So I'm just going to send a test signal to make sure that it places that order. OK, you can see that it sent that request through. Let me take a look at here. Oh, looks like I'm missing some funds. Or actually, no, it actually placed it. Yep, looks like it already placed it. So I don't know why that error is showing that I'm missing some funds. Maybe it's some setting that I have in 3Commas that I'm not really sure about. But looks like it already placed that order, and you can see it, $37. It's a limit order. It's a limit buy order, and that's exactly what we were looking for. So that's how you use Integromat and 3Commas along with the Aurox signals. So now anytime I have this scheduled on, when a signal comes in for long, it will send it directly to the buy, or if it's too short, it'll send it to short. But remember, when you're setting this up, this is a single bot, meaning this is only going to work for one pair. This is how 3Commas has it. You can see it. It's only working for one pair. In order for it to work for multiple pairs, you have to set up what's called a composite bot. And they have settings to set up a composite bot that basically can accept multiple different pairs. You can set up all these different pairs. And that's a little more complex. And I really don't recommend you doing it unless you know what you're doing. Honestly, I don't recommend anyone doing this unless you've already played around with 3Commas a lot. You understand how it works. They have, it's a very complex system, or it can be very complex, especially when you're setting it up all on your own. So if you've never really played around with it, read their guides, read their tutorials. I personally don't even know how to use it because I've never used it. I would have to read their tutorials and go over everything in order to fully understand how this works. And I know based on the few things that I've read, the composite bot is going to be a lot more, it's going to be a little bit of problematic if you've never used it, but I'll show you how that works as well. So again, the same thing that we did for this the simple bot, it's going to be the same exact thing. We're going to have the webhook set up. We're going to have this router that's going long and short. But the only difference here is we need to pass the coin. So in this case, for example, BTC USDT to 3Commas in order for it to know which coin for it to purchase and sell. And that's done very easily by going to the HTTP request here. And if we scroll down, you'll see that there's a pair. This JSON request that is being sent. Let me go back here. Okay, so if we, this is a simple bot, but it actually does have that information in here as well. And you can see that there's a pair here. This will only work for BTC USDT because the bot itself is set up for BTC USD. But if you set it up for a composite bot or a bot that accepts multiple different pairs, you'll be able to pass this value, this pair, and this is again in their documentations, depending on what it is. And of course, you know, Aurox Signals also passes this information. All we have to do is direct this information into 3Commas in order to execute that trade. And we can simply do that by going down here where it says pair USDT, and instead of having a default like on this, let's go back here, on the regular one, we just keep it as USDT BTC because we're only passing one value. But on a composite bot, we actually have to delete that BTC, and that one pair that you see comes from right here. So you can see that one pair. This is all loaded from the webhook data that we received into Integromat. So we just click on that pair and it will automatically input that value here. So now anytime a value comes in, let's say it came in USDT Ethereum, this Ethereum will get passed, let's say it's a long, it'll get passed here, it'll go over here, and the Ethereum will appear right here. So it'll be pair USDT, lowercase USDT, or sorry, lowercase, it'll be USDT Ethereum at the in this pair selection. That way 3Commas knows exactly what purchase to make and what coin to purchase and when. That's basically all there is to it. It's very simple, but again, there's a few things to take into consideration. One, the Aurox indicator and signals were never developed on its own to function on lower intervals, especially, I mean, it does work fairly well on 4 and 8 and 12 hour charts, but we never back tested on that. That's why we use these other indicators in order to help make sure that there's not false signals. So make sure that when you're using this indicator, that when you're using this bot, that it's specifically made, it's made for one-day trading. It's made for a daily trading interval. It's not made for the lower intervals. It's made for one-day intervals. And so if you're using the bot, make sure you set it up on the 1 day. You're not setting it up on the 30 minutes or so on and so forth. It's, if you are doing it that way, I don't know if 3Commas has the option to use other indicators to eliminate those false signals. If it does, then make sure you're using those other tools to eliminate those false signals. But honestly, we recommend everyone just sticking to the daily and the weekly, and you should be good to go. But even on top of that, 3Commas, I lost my train of thought. Even on top of that, you need to realize that 3Commas has its own strategies within the bot. The bot needs to be configured properly to utilize the signals. If you don't have the proper strategy, and we can actually, let me pull up the screen again, you can see that 3Commas has a lot of settings within itself. I don't personally know how to set these settings up because, like I said, I've never used it. We'll see if we can find someone, maybe someone that's part of an Aurox user that can help people set up these settings. But you can see that there's a lot of settings in here that you need to understand how to use. There's take profit. These are all strategies. So this is the indicator. This is the signal. But this down here, you have strategies on how to utilize these signals, when to take your profit, when to close that fake trade or a false trade, when to set your stop losses. All that information you kind of have to mess around with and figure out on your own. That's not what a signal does. The signal will just simply tell you when to buy and sell, whereas a strategy goes a little beyond that. As a trader, as a personal trader that's using the system, I know when to exit the market and when to take my losses and when to take my profit. It's fairly simple, but a bot executes it based on the settings. And if you don't have these settings correctly, then you're going to lose money. I think that's it. If you guys have any questions, let us know. The setup is, again, pretty straightforward once you kind of play around with it. I really suggest just read. I mean, took about 10 minutes for me to go through it. But if you do have any questions, let me know, and I'll be able to help everyone as much as I can. Thanks for watching.